Grandma, wake up. We need to leave. Right now. I opened my eyes to see Rachel standing over my bed, her face pale in the moonlight streaming through the curtains. My bedside clock read 2:47 a.m. She had her phone in one hand and was already pulling clothes from my closet with the other. Rachel? What on earth? Please, Grandma. Just trust me. Get dressed. Don't turn on any lights. And whatever you do, don't make noise. The urgency in her voice cut through my confusion like a knife. My granddaughter wasn't one for drama. At 26, Rachel was the most level-headed person I knew, methodical, careful, always thinking 3 steps ahead. She'd gotten that from her grandfather, my Walter. He used to say, measure twice, cut once, and always trust your gut when something feels wrong. My gut was screaming now. I sat up slowly, my hip still aching from the surgery 3 months ago. Rachel, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. But we have 15 minutes, maybe 20. Can you walk? With my cane. Yes. But, get dressed. I'll explain in the car. Please, Grandma. Trust me like you trusted Grandpa. That did it. Walter had been gone for 18 months, but invoking his name meant something serious. I pulled on the clothes. Rachel handed me a sweatshirt, loose pants, my comfortable shoes. My hands were shaking. Rachel moved through my room like a ghost, packing a small bag with my medications, some clothes, my toothbrush. She grabbed the photo album from my nightstand, the one with pictures of Walter from our 53 years together. Then, she took my hand and helped me stand. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Come on. We crept down the hallway of Linda's house. My daughter's house, where I'd been living since the surgery. The house that was supposed to be my refuge after I sold the home Walter and I had built together in Cedar Hills. The house where I was supposed to heal, surrounded by family. Rachel's car was parked at the end of the driveway, facing out. She'd planned this. We got in, and she didn't start the engine until we'd coasted backward into the street. Then she drove in complete silence for 10 minutes, checking the rearview mirror constantly. Rachel, you need to tell me what's happening. She pulled into an all-night diner on Highway 52, the kind of place truckers stop at during long hauls. Only then did she turn to face me, and I saw tears streaming down her face. Grandma, I found something. Something horrible. Mom and Tom there. She couldn't finish. Instead, she pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was a medication chart. My medication chart. But this wasn't the one Linda showed me every morning. This was different. Someone had written in the margins, calculations, dosages, timing sequences. I recognized Linda's handwriting. I'd been reading her notes since she was in elementary school. I don't understand. Rachel wiped her eyes and showed me another photo. This one was of my pill organizer, the one Linda filled for me every week. But in the photo, Rachel had opened each compartment and laid out the pills on a white surface next to their bottles. This is what Mom gives you every morning. She pointed. And this is what the prescriptions actually say. She swiped to another photo. They're not the same. My chest tightened. What do you mean? Your blood pressure medication, you're supposed to take 10 milligrams. Mom's been giving you 40. Your blood thinner, the dose is doubled. And this, she pointed to a small white pill. This isn't even prescribed to you. It's a sedative. Tom's prescription. She's been giving you his sleep medication for the past month. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the booth table. But why would she? Because of what happens when you mix them, Grandma. I'm in my pharmacy residency. We spent 3 weeks on drug interactions. This combination? She scrolled through more photos, showing me printouts of medical journals, drug interaction charts, warnings highlighted in yellow. High-dose blood pressure meds, plus blood thinners, plus sedatives in an elderly patient. Recovering from surgery, it causes what looks like natural complications. Stroke, internal bleeding, heart failure. It looks like the patient just didn't recover. I couldn't breathe. This was Linda, my daughter. The girl I'd rocked to sleep, taught to ride a bike, sent to nursing school. The woman who'd insisted I come live with her after the surgery, because Mom, You can't be alone right now. There has to be a mistake. Rachel showed me another photo. It was a life insurance policy. My life insurance policy. The one Walter had set up years ago. $575,000. Primary beneficiary. Linda Morrison. I found this in Mom's office tonight. Along with this, another photo. A spreadsheet. Columns of numbers. She's been tracking every dose. Every symptom. There are notes. Increased confusion this week. Good. More fatigue. Reduce next week to avoid suspicion. Grandma. This isn't a mistake. This is a plan. I'd read enough murder mysteries in my 40 years as a librarian to know what I was looking at. But this wasn't a book. This was my daughter. How did you find all this? Rachel's hands were shaking now too. I came by tonight to drop off some groceries. I have a key. Mom and Tom were supposed to be at Tom's work party until midnight, but I heard them arguing in the office. I hid in the laundry room. She closed her eyes. Tom was saying it was taking too long, that you were supposed to decline faster. Mom said she couldn't push it harder without the doctors getting suspicious. Then Tom said, her voice cracked. He said, "We've been paying double mortgage for 8 months. We need that insurance money now." The words hit me like physical blows. Double mortgage. They were in debt. That's why Tom had been so stressed lately. Why Linda seemed distracted. But instead of asking for help, instead of telling me they were struggling, they could have just asked me. I would have helped them. I have money from selling the house. I know. Grandpa left you comfortable. But Grandma, they don't want help. They want everything. And they want it to look natural. I thought about the past 3 months. The dizzy spells Linda dismissed as normal post-surgery adjustment. The fatigue she attributed to my age. The confusion that made me forget simple things, which she said was probably early dementia. Every symptom she'd explained away was actually her creation. My own daughter was killing me. Slowly, carefully, methodically. After I heard them, I waited until they went to bed. Then I took pictures of everything in the office. The chart, the spreadsheet, the insurance policy. I checked your medication against the prescriptions. That's when I knew we had to get you out tonight. Did they see you? I don't think so. But Grandma, they'll check on you in the morning. When they find you gone, they'll panic. We need evidence. Real evidence. And we need it before they can destroy everything. The waitress came by with coffee. Rachel ordered us both breakfast, though I couldn't imagine eating. My mind was racing through 18 months of memories, looking for signs I'd missed. After Walter died, I'd been lost. The grief was overwhelming. Linda had been so supportive, so loving. "Mom, you're not alone. We're family." When I had the hip surgery, she'd insisted, "You'll recover better with us. We'll take care of you." Had she been planning this even then? "Rachel, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning." She took a shaky breath. "You remember how Grandpa always taught me to check the details? When I was little, and we'd build things together in his workshop?" I nodded. Walter had adored Rachel. She was the only grandchild who shared his love of precision, of understanding how things worked. While her older sister and cousins played outside, Rachel would spend hours with Walter, learning about wood joints, reading blueprints, understanding medication dosages. When he had his heart condition, he used to say, "Rachel, in pharmacy, in carpentry, in life the details matter. One wrong measurement can destroy everything. Always double check." I remember, when I came to visit you 2 weeks ago, something felt wrong. You seemed so much slower than after my last visit. More confused. "I'm in my residency now. I see elderly patients every day. Your decline seemed too fast for normal post-surgery recovery." She pulled out a small notebook, the kind Walter used to carry in his shirt pocket. So I started checking. I looked at the pill bottles Mom keeps in the kitchen cabinet. I compared them to your discharge papers from the hospital. The numbers didn't match. Then I looked at the refill dates. Mom's been refilling your prescriptions every 2 weeks instead of every month. Because she's giving you more than prescribed. Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't sure yet. I wanted to believe there was another explanation. Maybe Mom was confused. Maybe the prescriptions had changed. But then I saw her with the pill organizer 3 days ago. I watched her through the kitchen window. Grandma, she had a different set of bottles, not the ones in the cabinet. She was counting out pills carefully, checking them against a handwritten list. Rachel's jaw clenched. That's when I knew Grandpa's warning was right. The details mattered, so I started checking every detail. I looked up drug interactions. I watched Mom when she gave you your medications. I waited until tonight to search the office. And what I found, she couldn't finish. We sat in silence. Finally, I spoke. What do we do now? We need to go to the police. But first, we need your blood tested. We need proof that you have these wrong medications in your system. And we need to get the physical evidence from Mom's office before she destroys it. How do we get back in the house? Rachel smiled, a hard smile that reminded me so much of Walter. We don't. I already took pictures of everything. But I also took the actual chart and spreadsheet. They're in my car. And I downloaded the files from her computer onto a flash drive. Tom's not tech-savvy enough to know I could access the shared family drive remotely. My granddaughter, my sweet granddaughter who used to play with dolls and braid friendship bracelets, had just executed a covert intelligence operation. When did you get so brave? Grandpa taught me. Rachel, he'd say, bravery isn't not being scared. It's doing what's right, even when you're terrified. I'm terrified, Grandma, but I'm not going to let them hurt you. We sat in that diner until sunrise. Rachel showed me everything she'd found. The spreadsheet was damning. It went back 10 weeks, tracking my progress toward what Linda had labeled natural causes failure. There were contingency plans if I improved too much. Increase evening sedative. There were notes about avoiding suspicion. Don't reduce too fast, nurses will notice. My daughter, the nurse, had weaponized her medical knowledge against me. At 7 a.m., Rachel's phone started buzzing. Linda. Then text messages. Rachel, have you seen your grandmother? She's not in her room. Call me immediately. Then Tom. Then Linda again. More frantic. Rachel turned off her phone. We're going to the police now. Are you ready? I wasn't. How could anyone be ready to report their own child for attempted murder? But I thought about Walter, about the life we'd built, about the values we'd tried to instill in our children. Honesty. Integrity. Family meant taking care of each other, not taking advantage. Yes, let's go. The Riverside Police Department was quiet that early on a Tuesday morning. Detective Sarah Chen listened to our story, her expression growing darker with each detail Rachel revealed. She called in a second detective, then a supervisor. By 9 a.m., I was at Riverside General Hospital having blood drawn, toxicology tests ordered. By 10 a.m., detectives were at Linda's house, with a search warrant. I sat in the hospital waiting room, still in the clothes I'd thrown on in the middle of the night, watching the news on the TV mounted in the corner. Rachel held my hand. She'd called her parents her father, Linda's ex-husband who lived in California. He was catching the first flight out. She'd called her sister Melissa, who was driving up from Virginia, but she hadn't called Linda. Do you hate her? I asked Rachel. She was quiet for a long time. I hate what she did, what she was doing. But Grandma, I keep thinking about Grandpa. Remember when we built that bookshelf together, when I was 13? I remembered. Walter and Rachel had spent a whole weekend in his workshop, measuring and cutting and sanding. The result was a beautiful cherry wood bookshelf that still stood in Rachel's apartment. I made a mistake with the measurements. Cut one of the side panels too short. I was so upset. I thought Grandpa would be angry. But he just looked at the wood, looked at me, and said, Rachel, everybody makes mistakes. What matters is how we fix them. Do we hide the bad cut and hope nobody notices? Or do we acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and build something better? She wiped her eyes. Mom made a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake. But she can't fix it if she's never held accountable. And you can't be safe if we hide this. At noon, Detective Chen came back. Mrs. Morrison, we found everything Rachel described. The chart, additional documentation, the pills. We've arrested your daughter and son-in-law. They're being charged with attempted murder, elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. The words didn't feel real. Nothing felt real. Your blood work will take a few days, but the preliminary tests show elevated levels of multiple medications. You're going to need to stay in the hospital for observation while they work the excess drugs out of your system. Can I see her? Linda? Detective Chen shook her head. I wouldn't recommend it, ma'am. Not right now. She and her husband are maintaining they were just trying to help you, that it was all a misunderstanding. Even with the spreadsheet? People convince themselves of a lot of things when they're facing prison time. I stayed in the hospital for 4 days. The doctors were shocked at the levels of medication in my system. Mrs. Morrison, you're lucky your granddaughter found this when she did. Another few weeks at these dosages, and you would have had a major cardiovascular event. It's honestly remarkable you're still alive. Remarkable. That's what people kept saying. But I didn't feel remarkable. I felt betrayed. Broken. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Linda as a little girl, crying in my arms when she fell off her bike. I saw her at her nursing school graduation, so proud of becoming a healer. I saw her at Walter's funeral, holding my hand, promising she'd take care of me. Had any of it been real? Rachel never left my side. She slept in the chair next to my hospital bed. She fielded calls from shocked relatives, from Linda's friends who couldn't believe it, from reporters who'd gotten wind of the story. Local nurse accused of slowly poisoning elderly mother made headlines across 3 counties. On the 5th day, they released me from the hospital. I couldn't go back to Linda's house, it was a crime scene. I couldn't go to my old home, I'd sold it. Rachel suggested her apartment, but it was tiny, a studio barely big enough for 1 person. I'll find a hotel, I said. No. I have a better idea. She drove me to Cedar Hills, to the old neighborhood where Walter and I had lived for 43 years. She pulled up in front of our old house, the colonial with the blue shutters and the maple tree Walter planted when Linda was born. Rachel, I can't. The new owners. Just wait. She got out and knocked on the door. A young couple answered, the Thompsons, who'd bought the house 6 months ago. Rachel spoke to them for a few minutes, and then they all turned and waved at me. Mrs. Thompson came to the car. Mrs. Morrison, we heard what happened. We're so sorry. Rachel told us you might need a place to stay. Our guest room is yours for as long as you need it. I started crying. These strangers, these kind strangers in my old house, were offering me sanctuary. We have a 2-year-old daughter, Mr. Thompson said. When we bought this house, we found a note in the crawlspace under the stairs. It was from your husband. He wrote about building this house with love, about raising your family here, about hoping the next family would be as happy here as you were. We felt like we knew you before we met you. They helped me inside. The layout was the same, but the furniture was different. The wall colors changed. But the bones of the house, Walter's craftsmanship, his careful planning were still there. I could feel him in the crown molding, in the built-in bookshelves, in the smoothness of the stair banister he'd sanded and refinished 3 times to get perfect. The Thompsons set me up in the guest room. Their daughter, Emma, shyly brought me a stuffed bear. For sad, she said. Bear helps sad. I held that bear and cried for an hour. The trial took 7 months to prepare. Linda and Tom pleaded not guilty, claiming they were just trying to help me manage my medications, that any overdosing was accidental. Their lawyer argued that Linda, as a nurse practitioner, knew what she was doing and would never harm her own mother. But the prosecution had Rachel's evidence. The spreadsheet with its calculated progression toward system failure, the notes about avoiding detection, the insurance policy, the drug interaction charts, the financial records showing they were drowning in debt from Tom's failed real estate investments. And they had my testimony. I had to sit on that witness stand and describe how my daughter, my firstborn, had systematically poisoned me while pretending to care for me. I had to recount every dizzy spell, every confusion episode, every moment I'd felt myself declining and trusted Linda when she said it was normal. The hardest part was looking at her across the courtroom. Linda cried. She mouthed, "I'm sorry, Mom," when her lawyer wasn't looking. Tom stared straight ahead. emotionless. Were they sorry they'd done it? Or sorry they got caught? The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Linda was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Tom got 22 because he'd masterminded the financial aspects. The judge called it a profound betrayal of trust, and one of the most calculated cases of elder abuse she'd seen in 23 years on the bench. I sat in that courtroom, holding Rachel's hand, and felt nothing. No relief. No satisfaction. Just a vast emptiness where my daughter used to be. After the sentencing, reporters swarmed us. Rachel shielded me, got me to the car. As we drove away, I saw Linda being led out in handcuffs. She looked back at me one last time. I don't know what she expected to see. Anger? Hatred? Forgiveness? I gave her nothing. I had nothing left to give. That was 14 months ago. I'm 69 now. I still live with the Thompsons, though I pay them rent despite their protests. Little Emma is 3.5, and she calls me Grandma Barb. Some mornings, I help Mrs. Thompson with Emma while she works from home. Some afternoons, I teach Emma to read, the way I taught Linda so many years ago. Rachel finished her residency and is now a licensed pharmacist working at Riverside Hospital. She started a program to educate families about medication safety and elder abuse warning signs. She calls it the Walter Morrison Initiative, named after her grandfather who taught her to always check the details. I haven't spoken to Linda. She's written me letters from prison, 14 of them now. I've opened none of them. Rachel asks sometimes if I want her to read them to me. I always say no. People ask if I forgive her. It's complicated. I understand she was desperate. I understand debt and fear can make people consider terrible things. I understand that Tom, with his gambling problem and failed business ventures, pressured her. I understand she probably started small and convinced herself she could stop, then went too far. I understand all of it intellectually. But my heart can't reconcile the mother who raised Linda with the woman who calculated my death in a spreadsheet. They're two different people, and I'm not sure the first one ever really existed. What I do know is this: Rachel saved my life by honoring what Walter taught her. Check the details. Trust your instincts. Do what's right, even when it's terrifying. That legacy, Walter's legacy, is worth more than any insurance policy, any inheritance, any amount of money. I'm healthy now. The medications work their way out of my system. I still use a cane for my hip, but I can walk fine. I volunteer at the library 3 days a week. I have Sunday dinner with Rachel and her new boyfriend, who's a pediatric resident. I take Emma to the park and push her on the swings. I'm alive. Not because my daughter chose not to kill me, but because my granddaughter chose to save me. Walter used to say that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when things fall apart. It's about who does the right thing when doing the wrong thing would be easier. Linda was my blood, but Rachel is my family. And that's a distinction I wish I'd never had to learn. Sometimes, late at night, I stand in what used to be Walter's workshop, now the Thompsons' playroom, and I can almost hear him. "Barbara," he'd say, "people make choices, good ones and bad ones. You can't control what they choose. You can only control how you respond." I'm responding by living, by being here for Rachel, by teaching Emma her letters, by helping other families recognize the warning signs I missed, by choosing, every single day, not to let Linda's betrayal define the rest of my life. Is it forgiveness? I don't know. Maybe someday. But it's survival. And after everything, that's enough.